She was just a student, finishing a late-night study session, heading to her car like any other day. But in moments, everything changed. What should have been a quiet walk home turned into a brutal, calculated attack. This is the tragic story of Maple Batalia. Welcome back to Chilling Fireside Stories, where I tell true crime stories with the utmost care and respect for the victims and bearable for my community. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It truly helps me continue bringing these important stories to you. These cases deserve to be remembered. Now, settle in and let's begin. On the night of September 27th, 2011, Maple had spent hours doing what she always did, laughing, studying, and being the bright, ambitious young woman everyone knew her to be. She had been at Simon Fraser University, sharing a late-night study session with friends. Smiling, chatting, hugging them goodbye just like any other night. But someone else was watching her. At 1 a.m., the quiet campus was shattered by gunfire.
What's your emergency, sir?
I just heard gunshots, and it's on the other side of 3 Central towards the bus station.
Okay, how many did you hear?
At least 7 in concession. One right after the other. Bang, 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 bang.
By the time first responders arrived, Maple was collapsed near her car, covered in blood. She had been shot multiple times, then brutally attacked with a knife. Despite the overwhelming injuries, she was still alive, but barely. Her family had no idea that Maple's ordinary night of studying had turned into a nightmare. Maple's family called hospital after hospital, only to be met with silence, until finally they heard back. She had been rushed to Royal Columbian Hospital. The hospital waiting room was silent, the kind of silence filled with fear. Then the doctor walked in. "We couldn't save her. She's gone." For Maple's loved ones, time stopped. She had just gone to school. She had just been studying for her future. This can't be real. Her family had clung to hope that she had only been injured, that she would pull through, fight, survive. Instead, she was gone. Investigators rushed to gather witness statements, knowing that every second mattered. The initial reports gave police hope. They had identified a suspect and were actively searching for him. The family prayed that the investigation would be quick, that justice would come swiftly. But despite the number of people who heard the gunshots, no one had actually seen the shooter. The white car that had sped away from the crime scene, witnesses saw it, but no one could confirm who was behind the wheel. Police were left with no direct eyewitnesses. And that meant the case wouldn't be easy. Then, they made a chilling discovery hidden just out of sight. A large knife was found between Maple's vehicle and another parked car. It wasn't just a shooting. It had been a frenzied, merciless attack. Someone hadn't just wanted Maple dead. They had wanted her to suffer. And investigators were determined to uncover the truth. They had hoped the bloodied knife found near Maple's car would be a key piece of evidence. But the blade was soaked in blood, overwhelming any possible fingerprints or DNA that could have led to the killer. Still, detectives had one major advantage. Security cameras were everywhere. Tracking Maple's final moments was now their best chance at finding the truth. Every frame had to be reviewed before it was too late. Police poured hundreds of hours of surveillance video, searching for anything that would reveal the killer's movements. Then, they finally spotted her. Maple arrived at Simon Fraser University around 7:30, settling into a table with friends. She was studying, laughing, chatting on her phone, her usual vibrant self. One camera, rotating on a timed routine, briefly zoomed in on Maple, capturing her smile, her ease, the normalcy of her evening. The footage painted a picture of a typical night. Maple's movements tracked through various angles, showing her interacting, focused, completely unaware of what lay ahead. By 1 a.m., she and 3 friends were ready to head home. They left the library, stepping into the parking lot. She hugged one friend goodbye before parting ways with the rest. Maple walked just 30 feet toward her car. One single camera was positioned at the exact spot where Maple was heading. Detectives hoped this would be the breakthrough they needed. But then their worst fear. The camera was on a timed rotation, panning across the parking lot every few minutes. And just 1 minute before the shooting occurred, it turned away, missing everything. That single camera could have captured the crime in full detail: a suspect, a weapon, a vehicle. Instead, the most critical moment of the investigation had vanished. That footage could have changed everything. Maple's murder had shaken the community to its core. Days later, her family and friends gathered at Delta's Riverside funeral home, 800 mourners, all struggling to process the unimaginable loss. Her father described her as his most precious jewel, saying that now, life felt empty, useless, without her. Her parents had chosen the name Maple for a special reason, to connect their new home to the one they had left behind. Her father explained, "There are maple trees only in Kashmir, India, nowhere else in the country. She was our jewel, the only one." Born in Mumbai, India, she later moved with her family to Canada, settling in Surrey, a city near Vancouver. A straight-A student with big dreams of becoming a doctor, she was also deeply creative, making waves in the entertainment industry. Alongside studying health sciences, Maple pursued acting and modeling, landing roles in productions like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and The Secret Circle. She was signed to a modeling agency and was thrilled to be a finalist in the Central City Model Search. According to the head of her agency, Maple was articulate, focused, and one of the most likable people you could ever meet. Despite being from a conservative East Indian background, Maple refused to conform to outdated expectations. Then she secured a place at Simon Fraser University, commuting from home while balancing her studies and her growing career. Though she was determined to pursue medicine, she also admitted that she loved acting too much to rule it out completely. Her ambition was unstoppable, but before her success, she had already caught someone's attention. That someone was Gary Dhaliwal. At first, Gary seemed perfect. A close friend recalled how they met at a basketball event, quickly becoming friends before eventually dating. At just 14 years old, Maple introduced Gary to her family, and over time, their families grew close. Their mothers became best friends, and to everyone around them, their relationship seemed sweet, affectionate, and full of promise. Gary sent flowers, surprised her with gifts, and at first, she seemed happy. But soon, Maple's loved ones noticed a change. The more time she spent with Gary, the less she acted like herself. She started missing plans, making excuses, canceling at the last minute. Her friends and family noticed a pattern. Every time Maple had plans, Gary would abruptly call. The control was subtle at first, but soon, it became unmistakable. There were warning signs, but no one realized just how bad things had gotten. In one occasion, a coworker had sent her a work-related text. Gary saw it. His reaction? A punch to her face, leaving her with a black eye. But she hid the abuse, making excuses, protecting him, and never telling anyone. Her parents believed she was shielding everyone, and that she was trapped between her own family and Gary's. Even when a friend urged her to change her number to break free, Maple refused. "If I do that, things will only get worse." She knew the relationship had to end, but leaving Gary was far from simple. It was a familiar cycle. Gary cheated. Maple found out. And every time, she forgave him, hoping things might change. But in 2011, she finally left him. She threw herself into her studies, work, and her future, determined to move forward. Gary didn't take the breakup well. He started showing up unannounced, lurking in places Maple went, watching her every move. And then, just 4 days before Maple's murder, everything escalated beyond control. In the early hours of September 24th, 2011, Maple went to Tim Hortons with a friend. Gary had been tracking her circling neighborhoods in search of her car. Spotting her vehicle, he stormed inside, his presence thick with tension. Then he attacked her friend. Maple tried to calm him down, stepping outside, but instead of letting her go, he forced her into his car. He stole her phone, demanding she unlock it and show him every message. She refused. Despite the assault, stalking, and control, Maple never told anyone, protecting Gary, even as he terrorized her life. But this time, she had had enough. Maple finally went to the police, reporting the violence, the harassment, the fear that he was watching her.
Just wondering if you can tell me what happened last night.
He
hit my friend in the face, and then I got up and I was like, come outside right now, and I pushed him towards the door. I was walking my dog with my mom, and I swear I saw his car drive by when we were walking. I'm like, Mom, like, what the heck? Like, driving around our area for? Like, what the hell? Like, why are you driving around my neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
So,
because he doesn't live near you?
He doesn't live near me.
She filed a no-contact order, barring Gary from coming anywhere near her home, school, or workplace. She felt relieved, like this was the final step toward true freedom. She trusted that he would follow the order. But just days later, she was gone. The way Maple was killed was brutal beyond words, and the first responders would never forget the scene they walked into. Maple had been shot 3 times while lying face down. Then her attacker struck her head with a knife 11 times. The wounds were not fatal. They were rage-fueled, senseless overkill. It wasn't just about killing her. It was about making her suffer. Only one person in Maple's life had ever been this angry, this obsessed, this violent. Gary Dhaliwal. Her family and friends immediately pointed the finger at him. The pattern was clear: his stalking, his threats, his terrifying temper. But investigators faced a difficult challenge. They had no definitive evidence linking Gary to the murder. There was no eyewitness, no security footage of him pulling the trigger, no DNA at the scene. It felt like the case was stalling. Until they found a breakthrough. Surveillance footage uncovered a crucial clue: the getaway vehicle. A 2011 white Dodge Charger, circling near the crime scene. Investigators quickly realized that most Dodge Chargers at the time were rental vehicles, opening up a new avenue to track down who had access to it. As they combed through rental records, one name stood out: Gursamar Beatty. It was a name no one in Maple's life had ever mentioned before. Until now, Beatty had never been suspected, never linked to her in any way. But all of that was about to change. Just days before Maple's murder, Gary had sent him a chilling message: "I need your help with something." That alone was enough to draw investigators' attention, an undeniable connection between Gary and Beatty right before Maple was killed. But the biggest question remained: why him? The two weren't close friends, and Beatty had no criminal history, no violent past, no reason to be involved in anything like this. Yet, on September 25, 2011, just 3 days before the murder, Gary and Beatty walked into Avis together, where Beatty rented the white Dodge Charger in his name. Investigators knew they had to move fast. They needed to get their hands on that car before it was cleaned or risk losing critical evidence forever. The white Dodge Charger, rented just days before Maple's murder, was on the verge of being thoroughly cleaned, which meant any remaining traces of evidence would soon be erased forever. But investigators were quick and caught a break they never expected. During the shooting, a single bullet casing had ejected, striking the windshield before sliding down into the hood of the car, hidden completely from view. Miraculously, it was still there, untouched. When forensic teams retrieved the casing, they ballistically matched it to the casings found at the crime scene, the direct link they needed to prove beyond doubt that this rental vehicle had been used in Maple's murder. And Gary Dhaliwal had access to it. Investigators believed this was finally enough to move in for an arrest, but shockingly, it still wasn't enough. They presented their evidence to the Regional Crown Council, expecting the case to move forward, but it wasn't enough. Without solid proof, a conviction was out of reach. So, investigators shifted tactics, building their case detail by detail until the forensic evidence stacked against Gary. Inside the white Dodge Charger, investigators found Maple's blood on the driver's side, gunshot residue on the steering wheel, and a spent casing wedged under the hood, matching the rounds at the crime scene. It was undeniable: whoever had driven that car had pulled the trigger. But investigators weren't done. They uncovered another breakthrough. On the same Sunday that Beatty rented the car, Gary was making arrangements to buy a firearm. Bank records showed he had withdrawn money for the purchase, and later investigators confirmed he had test-fired the weapon that same night. However, the gun itself was never found. Authorities believed he had disposed of it, likely throwing it into a river. But while the gun was gone, the knife used in the attack remained. And forensic testing only strengthened the case. Maple's blood and hair were on the blade, and surveillance footage placed Gary at the mall where it was purchased. Witnesses confirmed seeing him there at the exact time of the purchase. Even without a direct forensic link, the evidence kept circling back to one person, Gary Dhaliwal. Investigators still needed one last crucial piece, to prove that Gary was inside the Dodge Charger the night Maple was murdered. Surveillance footage confirmed that Beatty had rented the car with Gary standing right beside him at the counter. The two were captured picking up the vehicle, washing it, and later returning it together. But while that painted a clear connection, they still needed to prove Gary was inside the car that night. Then, another breakthrough. On the evening of Maple's murder, security footage from a McDonald's drive-thru showed a white Dodge Charger pulling in around 6:30 p.m. The double-pane glass blurred the footage, making it difficult to identify the driver, but luck was on their side. A McDonald's employee recognized Gary immediately, saying, "I know him. He was driving a white Dodge Charger." That was it. Now, investigators had everything they needed. They had placed Gary inside the murder vehicle, destroying any doubt about his involvement. The case was no longer circumstantial, it was airtight. And soon he would finally face justice. Cell phone records placed Gary and his accomplice, Gursamar Beatty, together at the Simon Fraser University Surrey campus, tracking their movements near Maple on September 27, 2011, just days after Maple had placed a no-contact order against Gary. Maple had barely settled into her study session, opening her laptop like any other night, when the Dodge Charger appeared in the parking lot. Gary was behind the wheel, but he wasn't alone. Just after 8 p.m., Beatty was dropped off at the campus entrance, setting out on a search, trying to find Maple's exact location. He texted Gary updates, scanning the halls, circling the area, hunting Maple down. For 45 minutes, he wandered through the university, before finally heading back outside and hopping into Gary's car. Surveillance footage captured the Charger moving through different cameras, lurking in the shadows. To investigators, it looked like a predator, circling, waiting, ready to strike. At 9 p.m., Maple and a friend stepped out of the building for a break. The Charger was already there, parked nearby, watching her every move. The moment Maple entered the elevator, the car drove past. Gary was tracking her location. Minutes later, he descended toward the lower levels, searching for her. By midnight, most of Maple's friends had headed home. She remained with one friend, a former classmate. By chance, it was the same man Gary had assaulted at Tim Hortons just days before. Then, the moment everything unraveled. At 1 a.m., Maple and her friend walked toward the parking lot. Her car was parked nearby, and so was Gary's Charger. She hugged her friend goodbye. Just minutes later, shots rang out, shattering the silence. Maple was shot 3 times, collapsing to the ground. But the attack didn't stop there. Moments later, her killer returned, wielding a knife, inflicting 11 wounds on her head in a final act of rage. On December 1, 2012, over a year after Maple Batalia was killed, police announced they had made not 1, but 2 arrests. Justice had finally arrived. Maple's ex-boyfriend, Gary Dhaliwal, and his friend and accomplice Gursamar Beatty were arrested. For Maple's father, Harry, the arrests meant one step closer to justice, but not closure. Since his daughter's brutal murder, he had vowed to wear black until her killers were held accountable. Now, dressed in black alongside his family, he faced reporters. "This is bittersweet. We can't bring Maple back, but at least the people responsible will finally suffer the consequences." When in custody, detectives confronted Gary with undeniable evidence: the forensic links, the surveillance footage, the bullet casings tying him to the crime. But even as they laid it all before him, he refused to talk, offering nothing but silence.
Because what happens, Gary, is that person...
Take me back to myself.
Not going to happen, Gary. This is real. You can cover your ears, Gary. It's not going to make it go away. It's not going to change things, Gary. That's what you did. That is the reality. That's the reality, Gary. Yeah, well, you know what, Gary? You actually did that.
Police charged Gary with first-degree murder and Gersamar with second-degree murder and accessory after the fact. Beatty had tracked Maple's every move for days before the killing. He helped Gary flee, put the rental car through a car wash, and provided him with an alibi. Investigators were convinced of one thing: Gary had been furious that Maple was moving on. She was thriving without him, socializing, chasing success. Her life no longer included him. For someone jealous, possessive, and controlling, that was unacceptable. Her family believed he had convinced himself that Maple didn't have a choice. She could either stay with him or not exist at all. It was an act of dominance and control, a rage-fueled decision to steal her future. As Maple's case moved through the courts, both men remained silent, pleading not guilty. Years passed as the trial was delayed again and again. The wait was agonizing for Maple's family, stretching out to 4 long years. Then, just before the trial was set to begin in 2016, everything changed. Gary Dhaliwal changed his plea. The man who had spent years denying his involvement finally admitted to second-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 21 years, one of the harshest sentences for a single murder case in Canada at the time. Maple's mother walked out of the courthouse, relieved but heartbroken. "Thank you to everyone who has stood by us. It's been a really long time, but Maple can finally rest in peace knowing she got some justice." But justice wasn't complete. Gary's accomplice, Gersamar Beatty, faced trial next. Ultimately, he was found not guilty of second-degree murder, but guilty of being an accessory after the fact. His punishment? 22 months in prison, a sentence that left Maple's family devastated. Even worse, he didn't even serve the full time. 6 months before his release, the family was notified. Beatty had been let out early. The anger was palpable. "An 18-month sentence is a slap in my family's face," Maple's sister said. It had taken 5 years for Maple's family to see even a fraction of justice. But they knew it would never be enough. Years after her tragic death, Maple Batalia's impact is still deeply felt in Surrey and beyond. In 2017, a documentary about her life was released, earning several major festival awards. Director Jocelyn Kaur wanted it to serve as both a memorial and a powerful statement about domestic violence, using Maple's story to shed light on a crisis affecting countless lives. Her legacy didn't stop there. In honor of Maple's talent and passion, the Maple Batalia Memorial Scholarship for the Arts was established, offering an annual scholarship to a South Asian Canadian female student beginning their journey in art and design. Her family continued their mission to create meaningful change. They set up a bursary at Simon Fraser University, supporting students in health sciences, the field Maple had dreamed of pursuing. Her mother, Sabjit, shared that the fund had grown beyond $100,000, a testament to the community's love for Maple and its commitment to keeping her legacy alive. Maple's case, like so many others, is a heartbreaking testament to the fact that more must be done. She did everything she thought was right. She went to the police. She got a no-contact order. Yet, it still wasn't enough to protect her. Maple had her whole future ahead of her, a life filled with dreams, ambition, and possibility. To see it stolen in such a senseless, violent way is devastating. But her story cannot be ignored. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure this doesn't keep happening. Was justice fully served? Did Maple's killer get what he deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because the more we raise our voices, the more we push for change. Victims deserve protection before it's too late. And if you know someone trapped in a situation like Maple's, please share this with them. Let them know that red flags are real. They need to be taken seriously. Their safety matters, because no one should have to fear for their life at the hands of someone who once claimed to love them. Thank you so much for watching today's documentary. If this case touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help support this channel and keep these stories alive. Let's continue to raise awareness and be a voice for the voiceless. Until my next video, please stay safe and look after your loved ones.